How to Stress audio series. Audio 5, Avoiding Burnout. Welcome to audio number 5 in our audio series called How to Stress Less. You've all seen it. Someone throws in the towel and says, "I've had enough. I'm totally burned out. I quit." And without any further discussion, we understand what they are talking about. They are burned out. In this audio, we are focusing on burnout. But before we do, I'm going to share some additional insight about two forms of stresses that can lead to burnout. These forms of stresses are acute stress and chronic stress. Acute stress is brought about by a sudden, unexpected event, much like the phone call that Audrey received from her boss in our first audio. You generate an immediate response. Chronic stress, however, is the stress that lasts over a period of time. It is prolonged and seems as there is no end in sight. An example of chronic stress would be the caregiver of an aging parent, financial problems that you have no solution for, or being unemployed long term. Anything that causes your stress levels to remain high and at the distress level for a long period of time is chronic stress. Audrey would be susceptible to chronic stress if her days continue to be filled with acute stress. Prior to the 1970s, the term burnout was a word that was only used to describe athletes or artists. When they lost the desire to perform or create, they were considered burned out. They lost their passion for what was once a motivation. A good working definition of burned out is this: to fail, wear out, or become exhausted by excessive demands on energy, strength, and resources. Burnout is the final stage of continuous and extensive stress. How do you know if you are burned out or if you are dealing with stress overload? The difference in the burnout causes stronger feelings of hopelessness. You do not see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you feel that no matter what you do, things are not going to get better. You feel like throwing up your hands and quitting. Burnout shows up in 3 different ways. The first way is emotional exhaustion. The symptom for emotional exhaustion is a complete depletion of energy. You have lost the energy and enthusiasm to do your job or to function on the job in a healthy way. Basically, you're tired. The best way to deal with emotional exhaustion is to take a break from whatever is depleting you of your energy, literally. Take a trip, hold up at home alone, go on a mini vacation, catch up on your sleep. Making specific time for rest and relaxation is the most productive way to counter emotional exhaustion. Depersonalization is the form of burnout that causes a person to detach from the people they serve. A classic and easy to understand example is this. A social worker begins to blame the victims, children or abused spouses, for the problems in their lives. They detach from the reality that the victims need help and are not at fault. This can occur in any area of life or in any job. Parents detach from their children. A boss detaches from his employees. Business owners detach from their customers' needs. Partners detach from each other. When this happens, it is important that the person experiencing depersonalization engages in stress reduction practices and the activities that help them appreciate the people they are serving. Lack of personal accomplishment is another form of burnout. This is when you feel that nothing you do makes a difference. You feel powerless, or at worst, that you have no value. Here's the truth. Very few people at home or at work get enough positive feedback, or appreciation, or credit when it is deserved. It is important that we don't lose sight of the good thing that we bring into our workplace or at home. If you are not rewarded with "atta boy" or "atta girl," or any form of recognition, you may feel that nothing you do makes a difference. Therefore, it becomes increasingly important that we recognize our own value. I'm not suggesting that you start your own fan club. What I am suggesting is that you take a realistic look at the kind of work you do, the kind you are paid for, and the kind you are not paid for, and recognize the value that you bring. This is especially important if you are in the service-focused profession, where one's results are not so easily measured. Symptoms of burnout are not really that different from symptoms of stress, but they are more profound. For example, someone suffering from burnout may shift in attitude from positive to negative, or from caring to uncaring. Instead of lasting for a moment or a day or two, these negative and uncaring attitudes become normal. Next week, we are going to look at ways for you to achieve benefits from productive stress as we will step to create a less stress environment for yourself and others. This week, continue to examine the stress and how stress is impacting you and to determine if you are at risk for burnout. And if you are, begin taking appropriate measures. Until then, stress less.